Hey everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I want to share with you how to make a see-through treat bag with the brand new Craft & Desert Divas treat bag die set. So the first thing I need to do is go ahead and cut my treat bag. Now with the die set, you need to go ahead and cut 2 of these to make 1 treat bag. So I'm going to go ahead and place these in my die cutting machine with 2 pieces of cardstock, and then I'll just run that through. And now I'm going to go ahead and place that little handle right in the top center as well. And I want to go ahead and run that through my die cutting machine as well. Now with the handle, I do like to hold it in place with a bit of painter's tape. That's optional. I just like to hold it in place because it does like to shift around a little bit. And I am die cutting 2 treat bags at once here, so that painter's tape just allows me to make sure that it's not going to shift on me halfway through the die cutting. So I'll go ahead and place that right in the top center, hold that in place, put on my top cutting plate, and run that through my die cutting machine. And that handle die does have stitching around the outside of it, so it matches the stitching on the bag as well. Now I'm just using 1 die cut here, and I'm using the inside scallop circle die set, the smallest circle that's in that set, and I'm just going to place that right in the center of 1 of the die cuts that I made with the treat bag, because I only want the front to have the see-through portion, so I only need to cut 1 of my die cuts. So I'll go ahead and hold that in place with some painter's tape as well, or washi tape, excuse me, and run that through my die cutting machine. Now with that die cut, it adds stitching around the outside, and again, that stitching is going to match my treat bag stitching because all the stitching in the Craft & Desert Divas dies matches perfectly. And I don't need that center portion here, but I do need this little scallop circle, inside scallop circle that's created. I'm going to actually use that to frame out my clear portion of my bag. Now in that inside scallop circle die set, there's also these great flowers. So I'm cutting 2 of those. There's 2 different sizes and you can layer them up. I'm cutting those from purple. The inside of the flower I'm going to cut from some yellow cardstock. And then the 2 little leaves that kind of spray out from the flower, I'm cutting those from some light green cardstock. And I just ran those all through my die cutting machine at one time, and you can see them in the top left hand corner right now. Now whenever you die cut this treat bag, it actually embosses lines in it. I cut 2 at once, so I'm not going to get as good of an embossed line, and I like to go in and kind of score those embossed lines even more anyway. It makes folding it up, like when I'm twisting and turning the bag to fold it up a little bit, it makes it easier. It makes folding it easier, so I just like to take this extra step and add in those score lines. Now on this treat bag, it also has the embossed lines to where you can kind of cinch the bag up. Like if you think of a paper bag, it has those lines in it as well on the sides. I don't want those pronounced here, so I didn't want to do any embossing. I want this to be more of a square bag. So I didn't do any extra embossing on these dies like you can do. I left them as is, and then I just came back in and really gave those other lines a good scoring, and then I'll fold them back and forth and crease them really well. So whenever I do go to fold these up and put them together, it's going to do so very easily for me. And really taking this extra step helps me in the long run, and it only takes a few seconds to do it. So I went ahead and added folded those lines up on both of my die cuts here. And again, I'm using my bone folder just to help really give those lines a good creasing. And then I'll add in my adhesive. Now you'll see here in a moment, once I added in my adhesive, I started putting my bags together. You will want to remember to put in your acetate piece before you actually start putting your bags together. I was able to wiggle mine into place, but just remember to take that extra step before you put your bags together, and don't forget like I did. So to put adhesive on these, on my first die cut, this will be the back of my bag, I'm adding adhesive on that large bottom flap, also on the smaller bottom flap, and then on the side flap as well. Now on this next one, I'm only going to add it to that side flap, and then also the smallest bottom flap. That other flap, the larger flap, is going to be the bottom of the bag. You don't want adhesive on it unless you want it stuck to your floor or the table or whatever it happens to be sitting on. So just remember that when you're putting your bag together. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the backing paper is removed from the adhesive on the bottom of the bag. And then I line up that top right with the bottom of those two larger flaps to put that together and make it one conjoined piece at this point. Then I'll remove the adhesive from both of these side flaps on the right hand side, and then I'll just fold them up, make sure that bottom flap is adhered to the bottom of the bag, and then I'll just fold in that little flap on the right hand side and fold it in to the side of the bag or the front portion of the bag. Now I should have added my clear paper here at this point, my acetate. I should have added it before I started folding up my bag, but I forgot about it. So I'm just going to cut a piece to fit over that circle die cut, and then I'll just add adhesive around all four edges of it and then place that right inside the bag. Since I didn't have the other side folded up, it was very easy to do so, but if you remember to do this beforehand, you won't have to try and wiggle it into place like I did. Now I am using score tape to hold my bag together. You can use this, you can use any kind of liquid adhesive if you wanted to. I just like to use the score tape because it's strong and it doesn't have any drying time, and with a good press it stays in place when I want it to. So I went ahead and put that clear acrylic or clear acetate piece right in front to cover up that circle die cut that I made. And then I can fold in this next side just by removing the backing paper from both of those flaps, folding in that bottom flap and adhering it to the bottom of the bag. And then I'll go ahead and fold in that side flap and adhere it to the back of the bag. Now to make sure that these flaps are nice and in place, I just like to take a little pin, I'm using my Wink of Stella here, and really kind of press those flaps together and make sure that the bag is good and secure. Now on that front circle, I had cut the inside scallop circle die to fit over that circle. So I'm just applying some glossy accents to that, and then I'll pop that right in place, right on top of that clear acetate piece. Now had I been thinking, I actually planned to stamp my sentiment on that clear acrylic piece with some stays on ink in white ink. I didn't think of it and I forgot about it, so I'll actually put my sentiment on a tag in just a moment, but I just wanted to throw that in there. That would be really cute to stamp on the clear acrylic piece and add your sentiment to that, and your stays on inks will work with that. And if you mess up with your stays on ink, you can just wipe it away with some alcohol and start all over again. But I didn't think about it, so I'll show you how I fixed that in the long run. But I needed to put that flower together, so I just layered up those purple die cuts with some glossy accents, and then I put on that yellow center right on the top. And while I'm letting that dry, I'm gonna put down those little leaves that come out from the back of the flower. So I'm just putting some glossy accents on them, and I'm actually only putting it on the side that's going to hit the white cardstock. So the center of the leaf, and then also the leaves that will only hit the white cardstock, because sometimes die cuts have a hard time sticking to that clear acetate, so it's just better to hold it in place on the white cardstock. Now once I had both of those in place, I actually added a little bit of fun foam and double-sided adhesive to the back of that flower and popped that right in the center of those leaves just for a little bit of added dimension. Now had I remembered to stamp my sentiment on that window that I created, this treat bag would be done. However, I didn't remember to do that, so I went ahead and cut this long tag from the treat bag die set, and I'm just going to use some gray ink to stamp Sweet Treats from the Simply Said stamp set right on that tag, and I'll use a little bit of twine just to tie it right onto that little handle in the front. Once I had that tag tied on though, this project was finished. I love the way it turned out, and I love the little window in front. It gives the recipient a little peek at what they're getting on the inside. This would be great for any baked good or little toy or candies you might be giving away. As always, I will leave you guys with a few pictures of the finished project. On the left side of your screen, you'll see a few different links you can click on. The top will take you to a video that you might enjoy watching next. The bottom left will take you to the supply list for this project, and the bottom right will subscribe you to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!